Hello and welcome back to the game room. You know what I love? Video games. You know what I love? Talking about games. And it seems like a lot of people these days who cover games seem to hate them. Or at least the people who play them. Well, that's not me, and that's not the 2,642 of you beautiful people checking out this video here today. And my goodness, we've had such growth this last month, and I've had more than a few of you ask me about that little intro spiel. So if you're new to the channel, the reason I start my videos off that way is that I've been following gaming since basically I was a kid. I've been reading gaming journalism back in Nintendo Power, EGM, GamePro, PSM, Game Informer. And then, of course, once the internet age came, I would read IGN, Kotaku, Polygon, Giant Bomb, all these different outlets. And over the years, you start noticing a certain bent, both from the journalists who cover the games, as well as the developers who make the games, about their audience. And I really started noticing this back in, say, post-Wii era, when gaming really started getting a lot more casual gaming fans. Same thing with cell phones and things of that nature. And you'll notice that you start seeing people covering games in a way where they much prefer something like What Remains of Edith Finch or Life is Strange, and much less so games like Super Meat Boy or Hollow Knight, Dark Souls, things like that. So that's what I'm referring to. And you know what? I'm not talking about YouTubers. For the most part, YouTubers love gaming. And generally, if you're watching this channel, you know what I mean. And if not, welcome. Let's talk about gaming. Let's enjoy it together. The hobby's all about enjoying it. So, enough of that. Let's get back to another one of these FOMO videos. This will be the 5th one. And don't worry, we got plenty more lined up. I love the suggestions. We got 11 more games this time. And the best part, I've actually played every single one of these in anticipation of chatting about it a little bit. So if that sounds interesting to you, let's check it out. There's a lot of games out there, some of which you've never even heard of. That's where I come in. My name's Luke. I've been playing games since the age of 2, and I have no life.
This is my game room.
Alright, starting off with the first game we're talking about here, which is one that I picked up at a swap meet not too long ago. The same one where I picked up Velvet Assassin. I found this game listed for $22, talked him down to $20. It is complete. And it is a game that is based, I think, on an anime or a cartoon, and it's called Afro Samurai. Now, I knew nothing about this game. I did not know it came out. I've seen several people mention it. In fact, even some people in the comments said to get this game, which, yes, definitely getting it for $20 was a steal. I've seen it pop up around the $30, $40 range now. But to be honest with you, after playing it, which I played the first 3 stages or so, it is incredible. It is exactly what I wanted from Ninja Gaiden. The way the game works is you are a ninja going around and you can eviscerate your enemies. And when you slice them, you can slice them in half, slice them down, cut off their hands or legs. You go into what's called focus mode. And if you hit in focus mode, you instantly execute your enemy. And it reminds me of this game that I played last year called Trek to Yomi, where my most fun part of the game was the execute phase. Well, in this game, you can be in the execute phase constantly. It's almost like Bushido Blade, where you can just drop executions left and right. The more combos you do, the more executions you open, and it's just a very interesting art style. I played a lot of these 360 games lately, and there's screen tearing or graphical issues there. Nothing like that in this one. This one is buttery smooth. I believe Samuel L. Jackson is even doing voice acting in it. Like I said, I know nothing about the comic or the anime or what it's about, but as far as solid gameplay goes, if you like hack and slash gameplay where you're actually dismembering people, if it's something you enjoy in the Ninja Gaiden, the new Ninja Gaidens, cannot recommend this one more, and my goodness did I have a good time playing this one. I did not want to put it down. I really did not. Boss battle wise, all the other things, yeah, I could see getting a little repetitive, but I enjoy the combat, and it's just the amount of ragdoll physics and the way you can You can, I mean, yeah, you can slice off the head, slice off the scalp, slice down. It's so cool the amount of dismemberment you can do. So yeah, that tells you a little bit about me. All right, next one. Now this game is funny. That when I saw this coming out back in, I want to say 2013 or 2012, it seemed like everything that was wrong, sort of, with these types of games. I'm like, okay, yeah, it's horny as hell. I get it. Suda51 made it, and that game is Lollipop Chainsaw. I remember when it came out, I was not interested in it. The reviews gave it, very mid reviews. It's saying it was repetitive. You're playing as this blonde cheerleader who uses a chainsaw, and that's about it. I mean, this game knows exactly what it's doing. You cut logs, but straight down. There's tons of humor talking about this and that. But you know what's funny is after playing it for about 20-30 minutes, it was actually quite enjoyable. There's a cool combo system. The amount of stylized animations, kills, everything is pretty cool. There's a deep system as far as upgrading yourself. And the humor can be funny. I mean, you're going to save your boyfriend in the prologue. He gets bit by a zombie. So what do? You cut his head off. You stick it on some magical cuff. And now suddenly he's walking around as your accessory, almost like a handbag. And yeah, they have times where, whatever her name is, I can't remember. Juliet, that's her name. So she's having introduce her boyfriend to her family. So she turns around, bends over. Yes, you know what this game is doing. But it's also kind of like Shadows of the Dam. So if you like Shadows of the Dam, it has some interesting boss fights. The first major boss fight is actually kind of incredible. No joke. Very interesting. The second major boss fight, kind of not so cool. And then that's where I paused on it. But as far as the game goes, one of those ones was definitely a guilty pleasure. Definitely, if you have a significant other, be prepared to answer some questions, because it is very, it's definitely a little embarrassing playing it in front of someone else because of, like I said, how horny it is. But a lot of fun. Better than I thought it would be. Better than I initially thought this game would be. Very much in that Shadows of the Dam vein. And I liked it. Okay, now here's one. To be honest, I was not so crazy about it. I didn't play it that long, but it is another stealth game. But it still is interesting. And that's what I like. I like these interesting games, but very hard. Much more so than Velvet Assassin. That game is dark. And this is a game where you wake up, you're a vampire. It's got a little bit of that Mass Effect chat tree-ness, as well as you have upgrades you can get throughout the game. But it seems like, for the most part, you're having to go through these levels completely silently, taking out the enemies, and then progressing. But it's very difficult to take out the enemies without being heard, and every once in a while you'll need to use your ability by feeding on the other enemies. That then restores a charge, but from what I've seen, it's kind of like in Metal Gear Solid. When you alert the enemies, they kind of look for you and then eventually settle down and go back to the normal pathing. In this game, that does not seem to happen. If you alert the enemies, they then seem to just wait for you, like endlessly, no matter how long you wait. And your guy is, once again, a glass cannon. He is not meant to take any sort of hits, any sort of fights. You get bonuses by taking out the enemies silently to begin with, so it really behooves you to not be seen. But I was starting to get pretty frustrated with it. But still, a decent enough game. I know now it's harder to come by. It's like $30, $40 complete. I think I got it for $15, $20. Still, another one, if you like stealth games, interesting one to pick up, especially now, because I don't really ever see it. And I don't remember it coming out. I don't remember a single thing about this game. And it's interesting. There's so many games on the Xbox 360 that start with dark. You got The Darkness, Dark, Darkest of Days, Dark Sector. I think I got like 7 games that have dark in the title. Darksiders, that's another one. Anyways, another one to pick up if that sounds like your jam. Now, as I always love to throw in some interesting ones, and honestly, this one's starting to get up there. There really haven't been many arcade wrestlers, and if you're a fan of wrestling throughout the ages, then this was one that when it came out, it was very cool, but kind of a letdown. I remember when it came out, my brother and I played it for a little bit, but nothing recaptured that No Mercy era days. But still, WWF All Stars or WWE All Stars, whatever it's called. This was an interesting game that came out. I want to say it came out in 2011, and it allowed you to use the current roster of 2011 versus a dream roster of things like Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Andre the Giant, and also in their heyday. So, it didn't have old man Hogan, you had young man Hogan. Then you have The Undertaker looking like the old, Paul Bearer days. And it was just very cool. If you wanted to do a dream match and not have to make custom wrestlers, this was the game for you. Now, as someone who is a huge fan of wrestling for a couple of eras, big in the early 90s, then big in the early 2000s, of course, I was a big fan of Chris Benoit, and that did not work out too well for me. And since then, I've kind of fallen off wrestling, and it's always a little bit of a sticking point whenever I play these games. That always is a little bit in the back of my head. But as far as arcade wrestling style games, one that, you know, you don't get too much of these days, this is a fun one, and it's still a fun one to this day. And it's starting to climb up there. I know that, God, I could find this dirt cheap, and now every time I see it when I'm looking for other games, I see it pop up for $25, $40, $35. So, yeah, if that's one you want to pick up, you should pick it up, because it seems to be going up. Okay, now here's one that kind of started all of this craze with a lot of people knowing that the Xbox 360 games were going up there, and I honestly was not too interested in picking it up. Everyone was talking about it. I was like, yeah, it's another military-based shooter. But I managed to come across a copy that was pretty dang affordable. I think it was like $30. I'm like, okay, I'll buy it on $30. Everyone says this is an incredible game. And that is Spec Ops: The Line. So it was removed off the Xbox 360 store, but you can still get the physical copy, and it takes place in Dubai. There's a lot of sandstorms going through it, as well as there's some cool parts where you can use the sand to your advantage. But I played about 25% of the game, so there's 15 chapters. I got to chapter 5, and I started to see the story unfurling, but from what I've heard, I kept expecting there to be some supernatural element or something unexpected to occur, which it didn't quite happen. I'm not saying it's not going to happen if I keep playing it, but as far as gameplay goes, super, super competent game. Like, this is a very fun third-person, over-the-shoulder, cover-based shooter, much in the line, almost like a hybrid of the Gears of War mixed with a little bit of squad-based Call of Duty. You have two guys with you that you can direct very limitedly. You can just tell them to focus fire different enemies. You have different weapons. They can have secondary attachments like a silencer or a grenade launcher, and it feels really, really nice. Like, of all the games I played, this was one of the most competent and most polished feeling games of these ones I played this week, and I very much enjoyed it, and I highly recommend picking it up. There's not much to dislike in this game. There's a reason why the value went up so much, and it's kind of tapered off now. Do I suspect it to taper off that way forever? Probably not. So that is one I absolutely recommend. If you find it for $30, $40, pick it up. It is well worth it. Super enjoyable, and I'm looking forward to actually going through and beating it. All right, now here's one that I actually saw recommended from another YouTuber who has about the same amount of subs as me. His name is Retro Rob, and the guy looks just like Keanu Reeves. So you got to check it out. It's uncanny. But he was talking about a game called Blood Drive, and I've never heard of this. And it's not quite a racing game, and it's not quite a Twisted Metal type demolition derby, and it's not quite a zombie game. It's a little bit of mix of all of them. And each level, or each cup, you get randomized events where you have to go through. And some are kill the most zombies. Some are kill the most rivals. Some are, go through the most checkpoints. And there's different weapons you can find out, power-ups, your vehicle, you can repair it. There's different abilities. And it's kind of one of those games where it's probably... I played it for maybe 45 minutes because I had an idea of what was going on in this game. But I also picked it up at that swap meet for $6 complete. So I know it's starting to get up there. It's a unique game. Yeah, it's another zombie game. But man, was it interesting. Not something I'd be playing all day long, but definitely a nice, fun arcade experience to pop in there if you enjoy sort of that Twisted Metal feel with a little bit of just zombie killing. And yeah, it's got characters are interesting too. Yeah, not my typical cup of tea, but something that is cheap enough. I'd pick it up. I enjoy it, and I would definitely put more time into it. It's very competent. Alright, now here's one that my buddy Mike Tendo recommended on the first video I did, and then a bunch of other people have brought this one up. And I have seen it before. I think Metal Jesus covered it. Some of the other Xbox videos I've seen covered it. And that game is Binary Domain. So the really cool thing about this game is that it allows for you to issue commands to your partner via the microphone. Now, unfortunately, I can't find my working microphone, and I tried a couple of them, and it just didn't work. And other than that, it's basically a Gears of War clone, but instead of fighting locusts, you're fighting robots. And that's kind of a downside in my opinion, because they don't have that kind of visceral satisfaction of taking them out, as well as you don't have the Lancer, so you can't go up and chainsaw dudes, which was one of the most fun parts of Gears of War. So if you want kind of the Gears of War with a little bit of the kind of that brutality taken from it, this is what that game is for. And then your partner, the one you issue commands to, will periodically talk back to you. So if you don't acknowledge him, or if you don't cover him or give him good orders, there's a trust system. So it'll go up and down depending on how well your partner trusts you. Now, there is friendly fire, so when this idiot gets in front of you, you can shoot him, and then suddenly he doesn't like you. So I could see that being a little annoying in the long term, but as far as gameplay goes, it is exceptionally competent, one that I could see myself easily beating, which is another thing I enjoy about all these 360 games, is that you can beat the campaign in about 3 to 7 hours. I really miss that about these games. A lot of it was built, a lot of the replay value was built in playing it again instead of having the game go on forever. There's online components too. And man, you know what else is funny is when I pop these games in, there's maybe a 2 megabyte download or a 900 megabyte update, but everything is on the disc. And it's such a weird experience being able to pop in a disc on such a modern-esque system and immediately play the game, versus when I pop something into my PS5 or my PS4 even, it has to load the whole damn thing in with 10, 20, 30 gigabytes. So, man, that is something that I really miss and enjoy about the Xbox 360. Alright, next one. I know this is on modern consoles, but this is one that I think is still a great way of playing it on the 360, and if you have the 360, you should pick it up. It's a multi-disc game. It launched the meme X'd out, and that is LA Noire. And when LA Noire came out, it was a Rockstar game, and it kind of came out of left field. I remember it just showed up back when Rockstar was making more than one game every 8 years, and this one had such realistic facial captions because you have to interrogate people. And one of the fun things about this game is when I played it, me and my older played it, and then I had my girlfriend, who's not my wife, but at the time my girlfriend, we would always joke whenever bad news had to be given, we would have her come in and be like, all right, Jen, sit down, tell this person that her husband's dead. Okay. And then once the suspect is crying, then we take over and start interviewing him. I'm not sure why we did that, but we thought it was easier coming from her. And it did, you know, and we enjoyed the game and played it a lot, but just one that it's on the disc. You don't have to worry about downloading it like you do on the Switch. And I think they even changed some of how it worked in the later versions. I think they removed X'd out, or they changed one of the, because I know there was pressure, there was persuasion. So like the three options you get, I think they changed it on the re-release to make it a little less obvious, but I mean, I could never, even then, even with the little ticks, I was never able to really completely interrogate them the best. But just a solid all-around game, really fun. A shame that all we're getting is Grand Theft Autos and the occasional Red Dead now, because I really enjoyed Rockstar when they were doing these type of games too. All right, getting down to the last few. So here's one that I took a chance on, and to be honest, I think I might have made a mistake. Now, this was about a $5, $6 game, and I'd never heard of it, never seen it. It looked interesting. I read about the concept. I'm like, okay, that could be cool, but the reviews all said it was terrible. After playing it, yeah, it is janky. I could see maybe if you put a lot of time into it, you could overcome some of it. But the game I'm talking about is Stormrise. So what this game does is that it puts you in command of a squad, and then you use the right stick to jump between the different squad members. And as you progress through the map, you can take over these turret locations that then allow you to generate. So it's almost like an RTS in that regard, but you're on the ground floor. But the way you move between your troops is very difficult. It really could have benefited from a bird's eye view, which maybe it did have, but I just couldn't figure that out. And this was the last game I played this weekend. By that point, I was kind of over some of these games. And that one particularly, if it sounds interesting, maybe pick it up because it's, you don't really ever see it. It's dirt cheap. But I could see it being a fun experience, but a very challenging learning curve to overcome. Like, this is the definition of one of those games where if you're stuck with it, I could see yourself getting something out of it. But when you have so many other games to play, the amount of effort that game would take for the reward to come out of it does not really equal. It's not really, just because it felt so janky going between the different troops. But there is so much potential in that I could see myself really trying to dive into it, but not when I was enjoying playing things like Spec Ops and Lollipop and Afro Samurai. So what are you going to do? All right, now the next one we're going to talk about, that's another shooter for the console, which apparently there's a lot of shooters on the 360 I was unaware of. And this one is just a straight arcade conversion, but then they added a couple of levels for the 360 port, and that is Raiden IV. Now, I'm not too familiar with the Raiden series. I'm not too familiar with a lot of shooters. This one tends to, or at least seems to be more on the bullet hell side, because I, for the life of me, cannot imagine getting through that. Now, you have a bomb that you can use. You get a lot of these bombs that will clear the screen and also wipe out the bullets. But you have 3 different attack types. You have a machine gun, a laser, and then one that apparently does like rope lasers. But I got through 5 stages of it. It was fun enough. There's not unlimited continues, but it was a decent enough experience. But man, this is one of those games where it really shows me how little I know of the shooter genre. And whereas I might be able to get through, Thunder Force 2 or Truxton or something like that, going on to one of these big boy type ones with Raiden 4, I was just getting my ass handed to me. So definitely one. It was fun. Enjoyed playing it. I like that they let you start on the stages. So if you die and you get to stage 4, you can start on your next go-round just directly on stage 4. Now, there's an easy mode and a normal mode. So I started on normal mode and then I switched it to easy mode, and honestly didn't notice any difference other than the fact that when you beat a level, you don't get an achievement. Which, hey, you know what? As much as I dislike achievement and trophy culture, I gotta tell you, the Xbox 360 did it right. Every time a damn achievement popped up, it was always a welcome addition. I don't know. Maybe I just enjoy the way the Xbox did it more than PlayStation does, as I'm not really crazy about trophies. I've always enjoyed achievements on the Xbox more than that. But anyways, I digress. All right, and then the last one we're going to talk about here. So this was a game that I saw covered years ago, and maybe just something didn't click that I could play this with a Guitar Hero guitar. But once I realized that, immediately I'm like, oh wait, I should pick that up. And I found it brand new still. You can find this game brand new on Amazon for like $5 or $6. And that is Rock of the Dead. And I played this game with my Guitar Hero guitar. I put it on Thrasher mode, which is the hardest mode. And man, did it remind me that I am super rusty with the Guitar Hero guitar. Though it did make me go and clean out my Guitar Hero. Which, by the way, if you guys have a Guitar Hero guitar that's wireless, make sure you don't leave the batteries in them. Because I accidentally left my batteries in for almost a decade. Damn things nearly blew up. Had to clean it out. Got battery acid on my chest. Not great. But got it in there, was playing, and man, it is definitely tongue-in-cheek, stupid, well worth $5. I really enjoyed it. I know it has Neil Patrick Harris and Felicia Day and some others in it. I think music from Rob Zombie. And it's just a really cool way to utilize if you have Guitar Hero guitars, if you played that. It is cool going through a game where the way it works is you'll have an enemy come at you and then you'll see a fret combination. So let's say it's green, red, blue, green. So then you have to hit that on the guitar and then that kills the enemy. it kind of gets it in trouble, though, is that you'll get multiple enemies on screen, and if you make a mistake on the guitar, you could accidentally start one of the frets of the enemy you're not aware of, and then you'll be trying to do the combination, and you realize, like, oh, I gotta go to that one. As well as the fact that the things are scrolling horizontally instead of vertically at you, which for me, doing so much Guitar Hero and Rock Band over the years was a very big mind blow, because it really was not something I was prepared to do, because it's one of those things where you're so muscle memoried. But even then, I'm rusty as hell. I went and popped in Guitar Hero 4 after I played this and just tried some of the stuff on expert mode, which I was able to beat some of the levels, but other ones I just got my ass handed to me. So yeah, there is that too. I just need to get my Guitar Hero back up. But yeah, Rock of the Dead, very cool, very cheap, still pick it up new, and I would pick up all of these games before they get more expensive, other than Stormrise. I mean, Stormrise, that game kind of sucks, but hey, if you want something that you can potentially put a lot of time in and then hold it up and say, like, I got good at this bad game, because there is potential there. It is. Like I said, I'm not sure it's worth it. But anyways, that is 11 games you should pick up for the Xbox 360 before the prices go up and up and up and even more. Woo! As a reminder, thank you guys so much. This month has really just been incredible. I basically have broken the doors off every metric this channel has ever had. It took me forever to get the 4,000 watch hours for monetization. We almost have 4,000 watch hours this month. That's how incredible it's been. I mean, if you look at my analytics, it's literally, you have everything before this month, and then May is just like up here. It is so nuts. So thank you guys so much. Thank you to all the new subscribers. Thank you so much, guys, for popping in, saying your comments, even the mean comments. Yeah, I get it. And also, yes, thank you guys for telling me that Halo Reach is on the Master Chief Collection as download content. Once again, that's probably one of my favorite things. If that becomes a meme, like, hey man, you know Halo Reach though? Halo Reach is on the Master Chief. Anyways, as a reminder, I release a new video every Tuesday. Once again, let me know what kind of content you guys like seeing. Let me know if you want me to do anything else on these games, or if there's other 360 games I should pick up. I know I'm starting to see some redundancy, like someone on the last video mentioned Bullet Witch. Like, yeah, I covered that in the first one. So as a reminder, there's 5 of these bad boys. But yeah, we still got more games coming. And hey, as long as you guys like these videos, I'll keep making them. So yes, it's been so nice getting a hold of you. Take care.